from taking Ugandan companies into the UK market. Earlier on, it was, I think, February, end of February, March, Emmanuel and I led a team of about 10 Ugandan BPO, IT-enabled services companies to the UK. And we had an opportunity to immerse ourselves in some of these things that I've highlighted here. And the response we got from potential buyers was very instructive, very instructive. They did not primarily ask questions whether Ugandans could write software. They did not question whether we had intelligent people. They did not question whether we had ambitious entrepreneurs. What they tested was something else. They tested things like, can you onboard properly? 90 days. Within the first 90 days, what happens? Can you govern the relationships that you're going to build? Can you manage contracts professionally, not late? Can you deliver predictively? Can you meet security and data protection requirements? Can you communicate professionally? Can you become a long-term partner rather than simply winning one contract and knowing that is everything that you have done? That experience gave us a very simple lesson. The market interest exists, conversations require structure, and that is perhaps one of the most important lessons for Uganda's IT and IT-enabled export ambitions. We don't just have a marketing problem, we have a conversion problem. And that conversion requires a really active ecosystem. Next slide, please. So we know, and we already have proof that this structure works. That's the structure we want. We should not underestimate what has already been achieved. Through the UKTP program, Ugandan firms have gone through export readiness support, market preparation, certification, and international matchmaking. 10 firms have achieved export marketing PAN certificates. 2 firms converted leads from that London meeting we had, that B2B mission, into signed UK contracts. 2 firms have achieved ISO 9001 certifications, and 30 high potential companies have been profiled in the National ITS and BPO sector directory. They may look like small numbers compared with the scale of national ambition, but I would argue that they are extremely important because they're proving something. When Ugandan companies are given the right structure, standards, preparation, matchmaking, market intelligence, and institutional support, they can convert opportunity into business. The lesson is therefore not simply let's find more companies. The lesson is let's build a system that enables more companies to become export ready and then help them win and retain these international businesses. Next slide, please. So this is where technologies like AI changes the game. So let us bring it back to what we're doing at ICTAU. We're really looking at the conversation of into the future. At ICTAU, we have been very deliberate in focusing our national conversation on 3 main forces. 1, artificial intelligence, digital infrastructure, and innovation. And I believe these are not separate conversations from IT and IT-enabled service exports. They are infrastructures for the next generation of exports. AI in particular changes the competitive equation. We should not think of AI simply as a technology that will, as usual, replace our jobs. We should think about how Uganda can use AI to increase the value of the jobs we export. There's a difference between exporting labor and exporting intelligence. Between providing basic processing and providing AI-enabled business solutions, that's the difference. Between answering customer calls and using AI-powered customer experience platforms, there's a difference between data entry and data intelligence. There's a difference between basic software development and AI-enabled software engineering. There is also a difference between traditional BPOs, because traditionally, when you say BPO, everybody says call center, seats. So there's a difference between traditional BPOs and intelligent process automation. The opportunity is to move up the value chain. Yeah? Uganda should therefore ask, what IT and IT-enabled services can we deliver better because of AI? Can we build AI-enabled customer experience centers? I understand the gentleman over to my right, 3 people down, is trying to do that. Yeah? Can we provide AI-assisted software development? Can we deliver data annotation, data processing, and AI model support? Can we build AI solutions for agriculture, tourism, healthcare, financial services, and logistics? Can our BPO companies evolve into intelligent operational centers? Can our young developers become builders of AI products for global markets? Can Uganda become a place where global companies don't just outsource processes, but outsource innovation? Yeah? So that is the opportunity. And this is why our tenfold growth strategy and our digital transformation agenda must be connected to our export strategy. Next slide, please. Digital infrastructure is not just a social good, it's an export. It is export infrastructure. I know the guys of Rock Telecom were here saying, oh, we're not yet exporting. This is important. Yeah? The second pillar is, as I mentioned, from AI. The next one is about the digital infrastructure. For IT and IT-enabled services, infrastructure is not simply about having connectivity. It's about having reliable, secure, affordable, and scalable connectivity that allows Uganda companies to deliver to a client in London, in Dubai, in Johannesburg, New York, Singapore, with the same confidence as a company operating in those markets. It means reliable power, it means more resilient connectivity, it means cloud infrastructure, it means cyber security, it means secure data environment, it means data protection, it means digital identity and trusted digital transaction. And it means ensuring that the benefits of infrastructure reach beyond Kampala. Because if we are serious about creating meaningful employment for Uganda'S young people and population, the export economy cannot be concentrated only in one neighborhood of Kampala. Digital infrastructure can allow talent in Gulu, Mbarara, Frepoto, Mbale, and other parts of Uganda to participate in global service delivery. That is how infrastructure becomes economic transformation. Next slide, please. Innovation must move from the demo day to the export market. So our third pillar of commercial, or as ICTA, is around innovation. Uganda has no shortage of innovators. No shortage. Michael over there is churning them out at the factory every year. Every 6 months, I believe? Every 3 months, yeah. What we need is more commercialization. We need to move from innovation, prototype, competition, applause. That's what we do. Yeah? In our demo days, to innovation, product, customer, export, scale. So our innovation ecosystem needs to become much more connected to international demand. We need to ask not only what problems can we solve, which is what they normally do, but also who will pay for this solution and in which market. That means linking innovators to buyers, linking universities to industry, linking accelerators to export markets, linking government procurement to local innovation. And that is one of the challenges we always face. Because government procurement always looks outside to procure the innovators that they have. And yet we have that talent over here, you know. Linking diplomatic missions to Uganda technology companies. Because our embassies and high commissions should not only promote Uganda tourism and traditional export. When we were in London, we had a chance to go and visit our embassy. On the walls of the, and I will tell you, he complained about that so much. On the walls, all you see were the gorillas, the coffee. What else did we have there? Nothing on IT. Nothing. So, so we wanted to see how do we promote Uganda's more than just tourism and traditional export. They can become commercial gateways for Uganda's digital export. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this came out of the mission we had. We were looking at, okay, yeah, sorry. We have already become, started thinking about the economic and commercial diplomacy approach. We're going to pilot something with the Uganda High Commission in London to provide important models that are needed for us to look at what does it mean for them not to have a salesperson for Uganda IT companies, but to have really meaningful discussion around putting a center at the embassies where investors can come and like a one-stop shop for people who want to import and export to Uganda or invest in Uganda. I'm going to hurry up. I only have 2 minutes. Okay, can you move on to the next slide, please? So what must we do now? Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are very serious about moving from potential to performance. I would like to suggest that we focus on 5 national moves. The first one is to build incentives for service export. The second one is to make the free zone regime work for IT and IT-enabled services. The next one is to look at how do we operationalize the BPO policy. Fourth, to accelerate data protection and international certifications. And fifth, to open public procurement to local digital firms. This is a simple principle here. If Ugandan companies cannot build a track record at home, how do we expect international buyers to trust them abroad? So government can become an important first customer for us, not through protectionism, through smart procurement that gives capable Ugandan companies an opportunity to prove themselves at home. And these 5 measures, I believe, are consistent with the priorities emerging from the sector consultation and and the work that we are doing, the operational work that we are doing. Okay, next slide, please. So this is our roadmap that is aligned with the 10-fold strategy that we're trying to look at. We need to consolidate what we're doing, our efforts. We need to specialize and scale. We cannot be everything to own anything. We need to specialize. And then this is how we intend to perform to 2040. I'll share this with you later. So, next slide, please. So what is the partnership we need? But none of this can be delivered by one institution. Government cannot do it alone. The Free Zone Authority cannot do it alone. ICTAO and all of us cannot do it alone. No, even the development partners. This must become a national export mission. Government will create the enabling environment. The authorization, the association here will, authority here will help create the investment and export platform. ICTAU and IT-enabled services will, the industry association will coordinate the sector. Companies will deliver, universities will develop the talent, diplomatic missions will open the doors, development partners provide the catalytic support, investors provide capital. So it is really a whole lot of us that need to come together. And this is what we are asking here from the authority. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I come to a close, let us change the question. Perhaps the most important mind is the mindset shift. Let us stop asking, does Uganda have potential to become a global IT and IT-enabled hub? We already know that answer. It is yes. But we need to look at how many international contracts will Uganda win this year. Let's set these KPIs. Yeah? How many new export-ready companies will we create this year? How many foreign exchange will how much foreign exchange will IT and IT-enabled services generate? How many young people will be employed globally in competitive digital jobs? Companies, how many companies will achieve international certification? And then how many global buyers will have Uganda on their preferred supplier list? And how many Ugandan companies will move from local delivery to global delivery? Those are performance questions, and the performance question forces us to act differently. Okay. You can move to the next slide. We can come to the end. Yeah. So this is our call to action. The world is not waiting for another country to announce its potential. The world is looking for partners who can deliver. So let us make a commitment today. Let Uganda become known not merely for the talent we possess, but for the value we deliver. Uganda has talent. Uganda has the narrative. Now we must build the structure. And through the structure that we call TechPal, it's more than a brand. We can make a promise to be a trusted service provider. We can make a promise for genuine partnership and real impact all over the world. Thank you. Thank you. Just one more slide while I still have the Kazinda. Oh, move on. Sorry, just one. So we've all been talking about the tenfold program. And at the beginning of September, I've been writing to all of you, inviting you to join us at the third National ICT Summit, which is happening at 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of September this year. If you click on there, you'll be able to see and register. As you were all telling us your names, I'm thinking, you must be there, you must be there. What are we looking at? Our theme is around, sorry, I don't have it there. But we're looking at how do we enable the ATMs through IT and in IT-enabled services by focusing on AI, digital infrastructure, and innovation to power Ugandan's tenfold growth by 2040. So we went into the market. We went and asked the guys who are in agriculture, tourism, and minerals, and asked them about their constraints. What is constraining you? So at the summit, we have invited IT and IT companies and government members and industry leaders to hear what the potential that we have in Uganda and what solutions are being made. So I want to make a group invite. Please join us. come and see what potential is in Uganda and what people are saying about agriculture, tourism development, agriculture business, tourism development, and minerals development as well, and what people are doing in this sector, within the IT sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ntege. I will pass on an invoice to you for that kalango. Right, thank you. That was indeed a thought-provoking keynote address. Shall we add her another round of applause? Because you've given us very valuable insights into what it will take for Uganda to move from potential to performance, and also to secure a stronger position in the globe, because we are talking about the globe. We are no longer here. We are talking about the globe. And I could see you talking about things that we need to do as government policymakers in the room. We have MOFA, very ably represented in the room. We have the Ministry of Finance. We have the Minister of Trade himself in the room. So we are all here. We have the Executive Director of ZEPA, supported by the board. So we can do this, ladies and gentlemen. But most importantly, we have the people doing the work in the room. So it is possible. We can actually scale and move from our potential, because the potential is already there, to performance, and to give us our current status. Because as we're talking about scaling and all, where are we right now? As I speak, I expect Brenda to be making her way here. Brenda is going to be taking us through a presentation on an overview of Uganda's IT and ITES export performance, highlighting the current landscape and opportunities for growth. Ladies and gentlemen, do join me in welcoming Ms. Brenda Kabasinguzi. I'm sure she's been on the call with almost all of you in the room. This is the face that was behind that call.
Thank you very much, Doreen. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Mine is going to be simple. I don't think I need to introduce myself. Do I have to? No, you all know me. But anyways, my name is Brenda Kabasinguzi. I serve at ZEPA as the Manager Export Marketing for the Docket of Services, where we have IT and our IT-enabled services, tourism, and name all the others, real estate and the rest. So I would like to thank you very much, Elizabeth, for provoking us. That was a very good one. And my job is going to be very simple. It will be to provoke us even further by just showing us what the numbers look like, right? And what they translate to, and then, you know, for us to then think of ways to scale and, you know, get to grow our IT and IT-enabled services exports. Next. Next. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we'll just look at where do we stand at today in terms of the numbers, and what do the trends tell us about our competitiveness as Uganda vis-a-vis the region and the global market opportunity. And lastly, we'll see what we should be able to do differently as Uganda to achieve our global scale. Next. So in terms of the numbers, these are World Bank figures, right? So like Elizabeth mentioned, our exports stand at $48.5 million. That's our ICT services exports, which is really a modest figure relative to the size of the regional and global opportunity. The regional opportunity stands at about $9.2 billion, while the global opportunity stands at $1.57 trillion. In terms of our share of total services exports, we stand at 2.03%, which is really lower than what we had in 2015. And in 2015, our share stood at 3.17%, and that, says it all. We're not keeping up. The IT and IT-enabled services exports are not keeping up with the wider services export basket, which is really important for us if we are to scale and meet our exponential ambition as a country. In terms of the numbers of the BPO and our IT operators, from the Ministry of ICT, we've got registered and operating companies, about 45 of them, and these have created formal employment, which stands at about 12,000 jobs. Now that is really low compared to our 2030 target, which stands at 150,000 jobs. Now all these numbers, as you see them, sit inside the 50 billion economy targeted to reach the 500 billion, which is the exponential growth that our country is really ambitiously looking at, hitting by 2040. And the knowledge economy, of course, as we know from the tenfold growth strategy, we're looking at contributing 136 billion. But of course, the 136 billion is not, we're not only looking at IT and IT-enabled services, we're looking at other sectors to contribute. But one message remains very clear, that the IT and ITS sector must become an important driver for this transformation, right? Next. And so I would like for us to look at this graph, which gives us a bit of the comparison, decade comparison of ICT exports, right? Now, from the numbers, if you look at 2019, our exports stood at about $27.8 million. And if you look at 2024, we are at $48.5 million. Now, that translates into a compound annual growth rate of 11.8%. Now, you could see that from 2019, the exports recovered from 27.8, then to 55 in 2023, but again, we then down again to 48.5. So there's a bit of inconsistency, which is an issue we need to address as stakeholders. So strong performance in 2023, $55 million, demonstrates our revealed export capability, which is the potential we spoke to earlier. But then the subsequent decline, however, shows the vulnerability of the narrow export base, which is concentrated among relatively few firms, clients, and contracts. And so what we need to do as a sector is to aim for sustained compounding growth and not the export, the occasional export spikes. Next. So we consider the year-on-year growth. Of course, as you've seen from the numbers, or as you can see from the graph here, it's been volatile. And so our exports are not keeping pace with the overall services exports, which we said it's very important. And so from these numbers, very quickly, what matters for us as a sector is not whether the ICT exports are growing in nominal terms, but rather whether they are gaining importance within the overall export structure. And so as a sector, if we are able to address this, we'll be able to achieve our ambitious target as a country. And so, of course, as you see from the pattern, it says it all. The constraint is actually our consistency. At one point, we are, going up. The next, we're going down for the reasons that were partially mentioned before, and for reasons that we are going to also consider during the panel session that will be coming soon. And so we have demonstrated our potential, but like the Madame Elizabeth said, we don't, our potential doesn't mean anything if we are not hitting the targets. Next. So in terms of our scale-up ambition, I just would like to draw our attention to two things. In terms of the sector value, our sector value as ICT stands at $131 million, right? I don't want us to confuse this with the export value that we mentioned, the 48.5. This one is basically the whole sector, export or export and non-export ICT, right? That's at $131 million. And our ambition for 2030, which is the national development, in the National Development Plan, in the runs 2025 to 2030, we're looking at growing to 1,000 million US dollars, right? And then in terms of the formal jobs, we said we're currently at 12,000 or thereabout, approximately 12,000 jobs. But for 2030, we're looking at 100,000 to 150,000. Now, there's some numbers that our keynote speaker mentioned, but I would also like to draw, and our minister mentioned, but I'd like to draw attention to the Global Outsourcing Talent Rank, where we ranked 24 out of 193. And then in terms of the labor cost competitiveness, we ranked 12th globally, right? So reaching the target that we have, the 2030 target, as you can see from the graph, roughly means we need to grow about 7.6 times for us to grow our sector value target, and then about 8.3 times to grow the formal jobs, achieve the 150,000 jobs, right? So that serves to show that there's still a lot of work that we need to do. And like I mentioned, please don't confuse the 131. The 131 is all-encompassing. Then the 48 is the IT exports as they stand. Next. So in terms of the regional and global context, like I mentioned before, the regional market opportunity stands at $9.2 billion, while the global IT market opportunity stands at $1.57 trillion. Now, with Uganda, our highest from the decade figures we considered, we stand at about 55.4 million, which is really a modest slice of the fast-growing continental and global market, according to the statistics. And so for the regional, in the regional context, we stand at about 0.6% of Africa's market opportunity. And so we've got a lot of work to do. Now, in terms of scaling, to be able to harness the regional and global market opportunities, we need to do quite a lot of work. One, we should target commercially viable niches, which we mentioned before. Some of them include customer operations, finance and accounting, software development, data and artificial intelligence services, cybersecurity, fintech, health technology, education technology, and so on and so forth. But we also, more importantly, need to target market development with reliable delivery infrastructure, strong data governance, we spoke to trust before, and services focused special economic zones that crowd in export-oriented investment. Next. Next, please. So, What is the gap that we need to close here today? I'd like to draw our attention again to about three important numbers we mentioned. So the services exports as they stand at 48.5 million vis-a-vis the knowledge economy contribution that we're targeting in our tenfold growth strategy of 136 billion. And then the 7.6 times growth of the sector value vis-a-vis the 8.3 times growth for us to achieve 150,000 formal jobs. And lastly, we need to make consideration of this number. We need to grow the number. The 0.6% we stand in, which is our share of the regional market opportunity. All right, we need to grow this, and we also need to then scale into the global space, the 1.57 trillion. And so, finally, as I close, what we essentially need to do is to translate the potential that we have demonstrated as a country into a deliberate national export proposition, one that develops talent at scale, one that lowers the cost of risk, the cost and the risk of delivery, one that enables firms to meet international standards, very important, one that attracts strategic investors, and that connects Ugandan enterprises directly to global buyers. Next, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brenda, for that presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, when the ED was making his remarks, he said Uganda is also known for its good English. I don't need to belabor that, do I? Thank you, Brenda, for that and for the presentation on that, where we are. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that many of you did come into the room early, and I am standing between you and something to warm you up, especially given that Sheraton has just decided to make the room extremely cold. But before we do that, may you allow that we have one more presentation, because one of the objectives of this symposium is to learn from successful experiences and adapt relevant lessons to Uganda's context. So our next session takes us to Kenya for an experience sharing presentation on the development of the business process outsourcing ecosystem. Those who have been to Kenya have seen how they have really gone all out in the BPOs. So let us listen and learn and customize that to our context, the Ugandan context. The presentation will also explore how operators have been attracted, the employment impact created, and the key lessons that could inform similar success in Uganda. To make this presentation, please welcome with me Ms. Brenda Mbathi, the Chief Executive Officer at Triffic, Kenya. I want to presume that she's already online. Yes? Joseph, can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. Okay, maybe as she comes on, as they connect him, you just give me a thumbs up when she's on. We've been talking, and I'd like for us to hear from you so far. What has hit it for you? Are there any lessons you're already picking or anything you'd like to comment on in as far as what has been presented so far? Okay. Brenda doesn't want us to speak to the participants just yet. Ms. Mbathi, you're very welcome. And in the room are policymakers, industry leaders in the private sector, both government and the private sector, eager to listen from you. You're most welcome.
Thank
Shall we welcome her the Ugandan style? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. So the ED of Uganda Free Zone and Export Promotion Authority, the Commissioner from the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, and all the representatives from the various sectors who are in the room today, and especially to Brenda Kabasinguzi, who is my namesake, for all her efforts in ensuring that I participate today. Good morning. I'm very sorry that I'm unable to be with you in person, but I have been following the deliberations, especially from our neighbors who speak English so well. And I truly hope that as a Kenyan, I do my best to ensure that I also show you your neighbors speak English well. And it is in fact one of the virtues we use when we go to look for business globally. And I think we can use that as an East African trait. We do have a presentation to share with you, and I have a colleague who's putting it up on the screen. Please let me know, okay, when she's got it up and running. There we go. I hope you can see the screen. Maybe one of you can say amen or yes.
Amen.
Or Brenda can tell it to me via chat on the WhatsApp.
We hear you, Brenda, and we can see the presentation, yes.
Great. So I'm going to talk to you about what many of you have already alluded to, and thank you so much for the great presentations, the great statistics shared by Elizabeth, and indeed by Brenda. And I have a few of those statistics within our own presentation. I talk to you as the Chief Executive of TRIFIC Special Economic Zone, and we're part of the ecosystem that allows for BPOs to thrive in our economy. And for BPOs, I hear today that you were talking about IT and IT-enabled services, but let me just explain from my point of view. I would say IT and IT-enabled services is actually part of what we all do, and therein lies the potential. So Uganda's opportunity is definitely substantial, and we've heard that in various of the presentations today. The good thing is that we're all talking from the same playbook. None of us spoke to each other before today, but we all have the same statistics. Uganda at 48.5 million of ICT services exports. I've seen the other presentations talk about what the ambition is for the country. I've seen you talk about what your position is against your proposed competitor set, but I want us to think even broader and larger. We need to see the global amount. The global amount of these type of IT services in 2026 is $1.57 trillion. So even taking a very small percentage or proportion of that is transformational. And indeed, what we have been able to do as TRIFIC is to look at the potential that we have in our market, and we call it your market as well, because we would have ambition as well to support Uganda and to be domiciled there as well, is the execution certainty, which is where the government plays, and then indeed how you export this performance. And our experience shows that the competitive advantage comes when you integrate all these elements and make them work as one. So it's really important that the government especially sees this, and it's so great to have the session today because you've brought in the private sector, who are truly a catalyst as well. The potential is in our people, the great talent, the great English that they speak. And this is no mean feat. It is due to government policy on education. And indeed, it is also about what we would call, in some circles, demeanor, attitude to work, attitude to life. And in East Africa, and although I sit here today as a Kenyan, and I have worked in Uganda for 6 years, previously the Ugandan demeanor, the one of service, the one of being pleasant to people. It is very key when you're looking at digital exports. If you're looking at the CX factors, we call it, customer services, which is probably where we as Uganda would enter. And indeed, it's great to see that the government has a national ambition in this sector, because that is also key, because it drives us to deliver upon that. What we look at when we talk about execution certainty is where government will give us the right policy. Indeed, infrastructure, that is where we have played as an operator to allow the private sector to operate under certain great infrastructure, to allow the government to also facilitate this. And when you talk about having road shows or going out to the market, it's very key that you also go out with your private sector, because BPOs will not come and just be domiciled within government. They need the government to lay the enabling framework, but they will look to the private sector to help them deliver. And then one of the most important things that we look at here in Kenya, and for sure you look at it in Uganda, is what is it going to deliver? It is going to deliver jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. And that is what our young population need. Indeed, it will also bring foreign exchange earnings. But not only should we look at that, we need to look at how we can scale. How you can start with proof points, but how you can scale. I'm going to now, on the next slide, showcase to you how we are a live case. I'm very happy to hear that TechnoBrain is in the room, because TechnoBrain is one of our 30 customers here in our terrific North SEZ zone. Our North SEZ platform for terrific SEZ has 30 customers within it, and TechnoBrain, within less than 1 year of being domiciled here, is already expanding. So we as Triffic are Kenya's first privately owned business services only focused special economic zone. We are not a zone that looks at manufacturing. We do not look at warehousing. We do not look at logistics. We look at business services, which incorporates IT and IT-enabled services. And here we integrate the policies that have been set by the government. We offer the correct infrastructure, and it allows us to also support all those, especially BPOs, to provide their services to the rest of the world. So when you work under a special economic zone framework, it is about exporting your services to the rest of the world, so outside of the region, because we have to understand that our custom territory is the EAC. In order to do this, our customers go through a 3-stage journey. And this is also one that we have gone through as Triffic. We set ourselves up to showcase that we could do it. So we went to the world and to actually looking for customers in Kenya to say, we are services-focused SEZ. We are going to provide you all that you need to operate within this zone, and just to allow you to manage your businesses and export to the rest of the world, to optimize your own P&L as enterprises. So we were fortunate enough to secure a global BPO as our anchor. And indeed of itself is very important. And this BPO has ambitions to scale in a quantum that even we can't imagine. And they do it because they've been able to scale to the rest in different parts of the world. And that is something that I would definitely support for Uganda to look at. BPOs that can scale up. And we supported them. We held their hand to ensure that they got good entry into the country, and we offered them all the support they needed to operate. What does that mean? We invested in infrastructure. The building in which they were coming to has all the infrastructure they needed. We also were able to hold their hand to be what you would call their one-stop shop interface between themselves and government. This is very important. Although government will say that they are open for business and very friendly, maybe due to perception, I wouldn't call it reality, but perception, enterprises are very nervous about interfacing with government. And sometimes you have to hold their hand, take them to meetings, show them the way to allow them to be able to operate with ease. And that's what we provide as the operator of our zone. Indeed, once we started, and as I say, we have 30 members in an 8-floor building. It's 174,000 square feet. So we were able to grow our members step by step. We've been in existence since 2024. As we did that and the members came to be domiciled within our infrastructure, they were also able to scale and offer employment to many Kenyans. Indeed, by what we've managed to do, we then listed our building as an income investment vehicle on our stock exchange to allow us to look for capital who have now bought our building, and the money that we have received from this, we are now building another building, which will allow our members and other people to come in and scale. The new building we're looking at will be double in size. So we were able to validate the whole system through our infrastructure. We showed people that they could be domiciled within our system. So we made ourselves now an investable income stream and a capital recycling product that we could list on the Nairobi Securities. And indeed, we also showcased this as a proposition to some of your Ugandan pension funds to invest in. And this is really important because it gives confidence to the global market that we are a pathway for future capacity. We're here for the future, and we did this in 2 years. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you some of the things that BPOs look for and how we created the system. And indeed, it's important to note that any one weak link within the system can lose decision makers, can lose your people wanting to be domiciled within your system. For a global BPO to operate, when they select a location, they look at an entire myriad of different things that need to come into play. It is not just a comparison of the incentives that you will offer them as a country. And indeed, it is not just the rent we as operators will be offering. So what happens is, number one, they look at operating economics. They do look at, are there any incentives in the market? And then they look around and see, are there any places that they can be domiciled where there's an operator, so that they do look at the cost base. Within the cost base, they also look at what I would look at the next part of this slide. Let's look at number 4, talent. Can they recruit talent? Can they develop it? Can they retain it? And can they do it at a certain cost? So they are indeed looking for English-speaking talent. They're also looking to see how flexible is this talent. They're also looking to see, will this talent appreciate the work that they're doing, and will they be retained in the workforce? And this is something that we as East Africa do very well. Then we look at the speed to launch. Yes, they don't want to just keep hearing noise and words. They want to say, how can we go live quickly? Is there going to be coordinated licensing? Is there going to be infrastructure, so office space where they can come and set up? Who will do their fit out for them? And how will we onboard them? So indeed, we as Triffic actually support them with fit out. We support them to interface with the government. We support all of that to allow them to have speed to launch, which they can do within 6 weeks to 6 months, depending on how they look at the way that they want to operate, how much space they're taking, etc., etc. We also help them to recruit talent. Some of them come to the market and say, how are we even going to recruit the talent to work? And we support them with that. And it's not that that is my forte. We look for other business partners who can support the operator with that. Business continuity, it's very important for them. Will the operation, once they start, will it remain? Will it remain live? Do we have good power? Uganda has plentiful of power. You export it, so that is not a problem. What about connectivity in IT? Here in Kenya, in one building, we give them 7 different ISPs. What about the security? And I know for sure Uganda is very secure, so you should not have any problem with that. Operational support. Is the building where they're going to operate in a place where all the talent can get a cup of coffee? Can they get transport easily? Remember, global BPOs operate 24/7, so they operate 3 shifts that need to be able to come in and out of the building with ease. A key determinant is the regulatory confidence, and this is where government plays a key role. Will approvals and operating issues be resolved quickly? Will the system be predictable? And this is something that we see, unfortunately. Once they see success, government tends to now change the goalposts. We need predictable regimes. When the operators come in, the goalposts cannot be changed every year in terms of how they operate. So I would say you need dedicated frameworks to make this happen, regulatory navigation, and indeed these BPOs need to have senior stakeholder access. They need to know that they can talk to senior people within the government if they need to handle some of their requests. And their requests are nothing that the government cannot handle. I say that because now I've been operating this zone for 2 years and we're looking to expand. And I know for Uganda, having lived there, it will probably be easier than within Kenya. And then indeed, they need to know how to expand. If they start, BPOs want to scale up. Will there be the infrastructure they need to expand in the same platform? This is very important. My next slide, I'm going to talk to you about incentives, because I can't underestimate this, but I'm not saying it is the only factor. I operate within an SZ framework here in Kenya. That's a special economic zone. To the right, you can see all the incentives that they get within a special economic zone in Kenya. We have been looking to make this something that is done across East Africa and to have the same regime. I would have to say we need more coherence across the different markets. It will be helpful, but you know what? We have moved as coalition of the willing. So in Kenya, we offer what we offer as our special economic zones. These incentives really strengthen the investment case. And the reason I say this is because you're competing globally. You're competing for global operators. And they look at different places they can operate from. In Africa, your competing set will be as follows. It will be South Africa. It will be Mauritius, if we call that Africa. It will be Morocco. It will be Egypt. It will be Kenya for yourselves. And more are starting. Botswana is starting. And let me tell you, English in Botswana, English in Zimbabwe is perfect. So that stops to be your competitive set. So we in East Africa have to keep making sure we offer different platforms that will allow us to maintain competitive. Operators, they value incentives because this is part of their total operating equation. So they need good incentives, they need access to good talent, they need great infrastructure and execution confidence. In other words, a predictable regime. Now, why are the incentives bankable? They're relevant for export-orientated services. So these are not incentives that are given for people operating locally or operating within the EAC. They only get these incentives if they are offering it, they're only offered for export of services outside the EAC territory, and soon it will be outside of Africa as we move more to the AFTAC regime. So you're truly offering services to the world. They're predictable. They need to be predictable so that the BPO knows that when they're investing into your country, they're investing with a 10 to 20-year horizon, and that's how they sign the contracts. They need to be supported by very clear eligibility and application rules. It is not good to give one operator or one enterprise one set of rules another enterprise, another set of rules, and so people feel that they just need to talk to somebody and the rules change. That doesn't make for a good, predictable framework. It needs to be delivered through one accountable facilitation interface. The enterprises and operators should not have to interface with many government arms. They should just have one place where they go, where everything is aligned and managed. Again, these incentives are linked to indeed the operators delivering on employment numbers, in delivering, making sure that they are exporting the services, ensuring that if they're using expatriates to offer this, that they're going to do skills transfer and some localization aspects, and then indeed to operating commitments, that they're not fly by night, that they're there for the long term. Our next slide shows that actually, because we have 30 members, they've all entered into our zone differently, but they've all needed confidence to be able to launch and indeed to scale. So I would say we have 3 different entry routes for most of our clients, but indeed there is one outcome, that they are managing export-ready operations built for sustained growth. So the first pillar that we look at is the pillar of BPO providers. These are global third-party BPO providers. They have different clients, and they've established Kenya as their delivery center, serving many multinational clients. So you would be looking at the same possibly for Uganda. So they give mainly customer experience, back office technology, and some specialist services for multiple multinational clients. The next is those that are doing in-house delivery. So they're doing a center of excellence, mainly for the enterprise's own operations. So this could be a global company that decides that it is easier and more efficient and optimal to have a service center domiciled in Kenya, supplying the services to the enterprise across the globe. And so they consolidate their shared services and specialist back office operations for their global company. But it's just one company that they're managing, and it's their own company. So it's company X handling all its back office operations globally from Kenya. And then you have the Kenyan and regional BPO providers. So these are local companies who have actually found a multinational client and they're providing them with back office operation. And here we look to support them to strengthen their capacity, their compliance, and so they're able to reach many international clients. So those would be the 3 pillars that we look at. Currently, we have 30 of them. We have 30 of them in this one building, but I have another building which is now at 46% capacity, and we're starting to break ground on a new building. The next slide showcases to you that for us to attract these clients, we need to ensure that everything that they need is actively managed. So I run an operation, it's very lean. My whole office is 8 people, so we're very lean, but we are managing something that is now listed on the Nairobi Securities. So what we do is remove all their commercial, regulatory, technical, and operational risks. And this is what we do, and this is how we do it. We first go out and we actually look for clients. Some come to us, but we look and see, are they eligible? We prioritize those who can scale, those that we know we can manage all their needs. We then invite them, and I want to invite everybody who is in your room today, including the government, to please know you have an open invitation to come and visit us. We would love to showcase to you what terrific SEZ is, and we're located within True Rivers, which is very near to the Nairobi CBD or to Westlands, for those of you who know Nairobi, and we would love to host you here. Once we do that, we coordinate site visits. we go into a deep discussion with them to understand what they need technically. What do they need from the regulator? And then we decide what access do they need? Do they need even a meeting with the president? That's what they ask for, and we arrange it. So we give them this confidence of the location. We then, once we coordinated and done all that, we translate what they need into what we have a calculator, which will showcase to their finance team how to optimize their P&L. What will happen if they're domiciled in my ecosystem and if they're not? And it showcases to them the advantages within their profit and loss balance sheet, so that we can also then produce for them an investment case that they can take to the board. They can either take it to the board themselves, or even indeed I have gone to make board presentations. And we showcase why it would be best for them to be domiciled in our ecosystem. Sometimes we need to coordinate more than one visit, and we're happy to do that. We then align on all the commercial terms and all the licensing. We even take them to see the regulator. We're very involved in that. We then showcase what sort of space they need within our ecosystem. We help them to design the space if they require. We offer them fit out contractual services if they require that, or they can bring in their own architects, their own contractors, and we agree how best to make their office operational. So when we coordinate all of this, sign off everything, we decide when they'll go live, and we continue because it's an ongoing basis. And when you work within an SEZ, you have to get annual licensing, you need to do quarterly compliances with the regulator, and we support all that. So we help to retain them, we also help them to expand. And we have many instances where companies have expanded. And so continues to be a growth pipeline. The next slide will showcase to you in pictures as well what I'm talking about. I want to let you know that our anchor tenant is a company called Teleperformance. TP, they currently occupy 45% of our first tower, and they also wish to be the anchor tenant in our new tower. And then we have the Victoria Tower, which is the tower that we're filling at the moment. So we are here and we showcase that we've managed to do it, and we list it. What do we have that makes also people secure when they come into this space is our infrastructure proof. We have resilient power and connectivity. We have our own 23 MVA power backbone. We have 7.5 megawatts of backup generation. Now we have, I thought it was 7, I'm told it's 10 ISPs. And we have our core fiber and dual OLT, all of you with IT understand that, support into our ecosystem, 24/7 operations. We have 24/7 security as well. Our buildings are all IFC EDGE certified buildings, and they're also supported because we have a renewable grid, which is very important to people because Kenya is able to showcase, because of our power from Okaria geothermal, that electricity, 96% of it in Kenya is renewable. We also have an off-site 1.2 megawatt solar system that we're expanding to 2.4 megawatts. So all the daytime electricity comes from solar. We recycle most of our water, 85% of it, and that grey water comes into the ecosystem, which we're committed to keeping 30% green. We operate on a 128-acre campus. We have the only Ferris wheel in Eastern Central Africa. We have a hotel on site, the 4-star Holiday Inn. We also have a mall on site, and we have more than 1,000 units of residential housing also on site within the ecosystem. So our ecosystem has 30 companies here at Traffic. As I said, we offer offices, retail, hospitality, dining, leisure. We have a 4D cinema on site. So there's a lot of things on site which make us attractive to our enterprises. Indeed, as I said, we're very secure. 24/7, 365. So we have our North Tower that is full. We have our next tower, which is the Victoria Tower, which is 46% taken. And then we're building a new tower, Vantage Point 1, which should come on stream by the end of 2027. Our next slide shows you that BPO infrastructure has to be employment infrastructure. It has to showcase that you're giving them infrastructure beyond just commercial real estate. And that's what we've been able to do within our campus. And within our campus, we now have 2,000 direct jobs in this building. And indeed, our intention when we go to the next building is to have 5,000 formal export-linked jobs within our ecosystem. And this really helps with what we look at, the national dividend. What do we contribute to our economy? It is not just to us. Key, as I told you, is the employment dividend, which is so important. Workforce development, supporting young talent, giving them export-ready professional roles, and that creates pathways into them become supervisors and specialists. It warms my heart when I meet people who've come into the ecosystem. They came in as customer service, entry level, and now they're supervising their own teams of 100 people, and they're so proud. This is something that they've done in a matter of a year. We're looking at services exports and foreign exchange coming into our country through what we do. And indeed, when people say, well, this is all about giving incentives, but guess what? Employment tax is not given away when you're here within an SEZ. And this actually expands the PAYE into the local economy. And it's really important. And we also pay all our income tax. And so there is a dividend that comes back into the local economy. The employee and the businesses spend a lot on just managing their operations, on transport, housing, food, telecommunications, and other professional services. So it's really important that this is also seen as giving back to the local economy. Our next slide will show you one of our proudest moments. We listed on the Nairobi Securities as a green US dollar income real estate instrument on the Nairobi Securities on the 29th of June this year. So we listed, and there we have our team ringing the bell on the securities. And this was with a one asset, the North Tower. We are a green US dollar based IREIT, and we'll be giving an 8% return and a first dividend in October this year. And this has now given us capital. We've been able to recycle it to allow us to build a new building. And this just showcases that we are operating proof as a pathway to finance the next generation of our infrastructure and our growth. The next slide showcases why this is important. Capital recycling is really important for operating success. We aren't just doing this for one building, we're looking to continue to expand and to continue to attract. So we've been able to validate what we had as an ambition in 2 years. We've been able to validate it, to confirm it can happen. We are now developing more. We've been able to stabilize 30 members in our ecosystem. We are reinvesting and we're expanding. We are recycling capital, and we're going to become an institution, an asset that we can all be proud of. And on the next slide, I just say that this is also so possible in Uganda. Uganda can accelerate BPO exports by treating attraction, delivery, and scale as one system. You've said you've been talking for a long time, so had Kenya. So we need to go out there and win and convert demand. You need to target. Where are you going to? Target your priority operators, the services in the markets. Build a focused proposition as a country. Include your private sector. This should be done against your strong talent, your costs, any incentives you will offer, the great language that you speak, the way you speak English, I agree, the time zone, and any policy advantages the government can give you. Convert this. Use what you have, your government, your investment promotion, your talent, your infrastructure. De-risk it by making sure that the way the enterprises can come in is clear and bankable. Package the incentives. Make licensing and work permits and data requirements easy to access, easy to understand. Don't make it a myriad of different approvals. It will make it very complicated for global operators. Then look at your talent, build it, ramp up capacity. And let me tell you, global operators will do it when they come in. They will do their own capacity building. All you need to do is to manage when the talent just needs to pass some very basic tests. But then indeed, engage with people like ourselves. And we have ambition also of Uganda. Allow us to develop the infrastructure. The BPO is not going to come and build the building. The BPO wants to come in and find infrastructure ready. They want to see that you have good space, good power, good connectivity, good security, good support services. This allows this whole ecosystem to expand. And design it from the outset so that you allow everything to come together, so that you allow us to be able to complete infrastructure, to recycle it, and to continue to expanding. And so what I'd like to say is, on the next slide, Uganda, you have all the ingredients. Now coordinate the execution and build a competitive BPO export platform. The next step, which I'm sure you'll do with the rest of the day, is to align your market conversion, your talent, your infrastructure, your policy and finance to ensure that everything comes together in a national delivery platform. So align the public and private actors behind clear ownership, decision rights, and measurable milestones. Convert it, engage with operators, including ourselves and the enterprises, so that you have ready to activate infrastructure, you have policy propositions, then scale it. Phase it, but scale it, and show that you can manage the proven demand that you will go out and get. And design it so that it can be repeatable expansion. This potential that you say, the potential that Elizabeth talked about, the potential that you want to become your reality, open these doors. Let the execution happen. Let it win. Let us retain BPO operators in this region and even into Uganda, please. This is your time. You've got everybody in the room. I'm truly confident you can make it happen. And I truly hope to be able to also come and visit and to be part of that journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Brenda. Thank you very much, Brenda, for being very open about what you are doing in Kenya. We just concluded the 3rd annual Regional Industrialization Conference yesterday. And one of the things that we agreed on was that we are no longer going to its boundaries, we are just going to say districts. So welcome our sister from the District of Kenya. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. I know, very well deserved indeed. I know we did not have a session for questions or contributions to what you have talked about, Brenda. But please allow that, because I saw many itching and wanting to say something as you talked. Could you indulge us for just 2 contributions?
With pleasure.
Thank you. I'll just entertain
With
2.
pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 2 contributions towards this presentation, and then we go for a much-needed break because we've been seated for long.
And
go on.
And the presentation is available and can be shared. And indeed, Brenda, my sister in Uganda, can also share my contacts because you are so welcome. As I said, I've lived in Uganda. It's one of my homes.
I think we should get you back home to Uganda. Yes.
I loved it when I was there.
Thank you, Brenda. My name is Grace. I think I remember you. I remember you. Your husband used to be, I think, the MD of Stanbic Bank. Oh,
you're correct there.
Yes. And I hope you'll come back to Uganda again. My name is Grace Achire, and we are one of the first that has tried to do what you do in a smaller scale. So we have also established an ICT hub, a private one, called Yako app, and our experience has been a bit quite complicated because it's also we're learning as we go along. There are a number of few things that I thought I just want to ask you. One, of course, the first one is you said you want to come to Uganda. I would like to let you know that Yako has a 5-floor building, a 4-floor building that is ready, and we're really looking into trying to find partners that can help us to establish it as the first ICT export hub. One of the things that we have done, most of the things that you've said is actually what we've been trying to do, but we've been having challenges and we've been having meetings with their Uganda Free Zone Authority on that. The issues of how to align the operators and people, the businesses that are coming in to operate within the free zone. We're having a bit of a challenge there because our legal framework has certain minimum requirements. I don't know how you've handled it. For instance, if someone is coming to set up in already established infrastructure. In Uganda, if you're a foreign company, you're expected to at least have a minimum of $10 million for you to be able to qualify for incentives, and that is becoming a bit of a problem. I don't know how you handle it and how we can handle it. And then the other thing was about the anchor. That was something that we really are looking for, getting a GCC operator. I would like to hear from your experience, where and how did you go about it to get those multinationals to come and set up, because we really do need that. So those two things are my burning questions, but hopefully you can come and help us to set up Yako here and let it start running.
Thank you. One more.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions on Zoom or contributions? Because we are also online. No? Okay. Right. Over to you, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Grace. And yes, I was in Uganda, and that was my husband. Let me tell you this. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And I hope the government is listening to this. We wish them to make it easier. And I hope when they look at the BPO framework, they try and release some of these US dollar minimum investments that foreign companies need to hold. But what we can do is, at the moment, our SEZ framework doesn't have minimums yet, but they want to now start putting those in, which I don't encourage. So luckily we didn't have that. And I think it's important for me to say that Rwanda is also moving ahead with this, and they don't have these sort of laws on the number of millions of dollars that a foreign entity needs to have. But a way to look at it is, some of them just might want to check, does that entity have it globally? So they need to look at it as a global operator. What then our authority does is that they need to see how they will be ramping up. So of course there has to be some sort of dedication to how they will be investing, and what are their investments that they'll be putting in year 1, year 2. So we call it an investment plan. And Grace, I think we should have a one-on-one with yourself, and I can take you through how that framework works. And I'm also willing to come unfortunately, I couldn't come today because I was not well, but I was going to actually come physically. So I will hopefully be invited again by my namesake Brenda and spend some time. And I'd love to come and visit your offices. So those things need to be taken into account. Government mustn't make it punitive, especially in the beginning, for those who are coming in, especially the early entrants. And maybe give them a time as to where they should have these sort of numbers. $10 million is actually not a lot of money for a global operator. It's a lot of money for when they start, because they also need to have the confidence it's going to work. So there has to be the engagement, and that's why I say we play such a critical role in having these engagements with government, me as the interface of my company, Triffic, so that we can explain this. What our government does is they take each case step by step. An operator like TP, which has 2,000 people that they're employing, I mean, why would you send those away? If you've got a global anchor tenant, they're going to be taking thousands of employees. The government should look at that, hopefully, to see what that means to the economy. And believe you me, TP has just been in existence within my ecosystem 1 year and a bit, and they already need a lot more space. In Egypt, they have 30,000 employees, and they say East Africa can be even better. Why would we not do everything we can to encourage that? To encourage that. Because what it's going to do for the economy is just going to mean so much more. And how do you go and look for these anchor tenants? You just keep going out. I used to host open days. I would write letters. I can show you, how do you do business development work? You are hitting the tarmac day by day until somebody believes in you because they see you speaking, like at an event like this. They can see the promise. We actually had the infrastructure. You have the infrastructure. You have already developed something. Hopefully government invites you to go with them, to speak when they go on some foreign tours. It allows them, these global companies, to see, oh, government has come with private sector. Maybe this is something we should listen to. So there's not one nugget that I would say works for everybody. Out of the 30 clients I have now in this building, they've all come through different avenues. And so you have to be relentless on your business development. In the beginning, remember, I started with nothing. I had a building which was an empty shell. I had to build the floors. I had to just but if you come and see us today, it's a beautiful building. And luckily we got an investor who allowed us to do that fit out for the building. It's an investor who's been paid back because we've listed on the Nairobi Securities and they've been able to get back their return. So you've got your building, so you just have to be relentless on business development. And the great thing is you're in the room with government today. The way South Africa did this is the way East Africa has to start thinking about it. South Africa went arm in arm, private sector and public sector, and they held their own trade shows in different targeted markets, and they managed to win a lot of business. When you look at the South African story, you look at the Cape, you look at what used to be called East London, it has another name now, and you look what they've done to create hundreds of thousands of jobs. It was a concerted public-private sector operation.
Wow.
Government went hand in hand with private sector. I can only encourage you, and I think we need to work on this a little more.
Yes, we need to work a little more, but the work starts now.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Brenda. But before we let you go, I'll give the mic to the Executive Director of the Uganda Free Zones and Export Promotions Authority to say one word.
I need to visit the ED.
Let him welcome you.
Brenda, when you started speaking, I was like, this must be a Ugandan who migrated to another country. But again, Doreen has made it clear that we are in one country called East Africa. So I just want to appreciate you for the very, very open comments and explanation that you have accorded us. Thank you very much. I know that traffic is one of the resilient and the most competitive SEZs in this area, and we have a lot to keep sharing and learning from you. To my countrymen and women, resilience is the ability to adapt quickly to realities. The realities are changing. Maybe they have already changed. We can't tax services the way we tax goods. It has to be different. That is very important. Secondly, we should not make fiscal policy a barrier to investment, because you cannot tax what you don't have. Special economic zones create opportunities for tax harvest, employment, forex, skill upgrading, and so on and so forth. So we have learned a lot, and as government, there are certain things that we are going to be doing in the next few weeks and months. And one of those things is to review our special economic zones law by first looking at the policy, and everybody in this room will take part in that conversation. Thank you very much, Brenda.
Well done, Mr. Edie. I wish you all the success, and you will make the difference to everybody. And I would love to be part of that journey, so look forward to it.
All right, another round of applause to our sister in the District of Kenya. Thank you so much for your time. We now break off for tea. I hope someone can give you a cup of tea there, some Ugandan tea there, or some coffee. Wonderful. So ladies and gentlemen, you've earned yourselves a break. Shall we go for a break, and we return at exactly tea. It is actually tea. And I request that we take a group photo. Andrew has organized for us somewhere out there. And then we shall be able to return
here at exactly 20 minutes past noon, so that we delve into a panel discussion that we don't want to miss. Thank you.
Bring your chair. There's some space.
Members, a photo, please. Yes, please. Going outside.
How are you? You're okay? I remember
So 6. There are 6 panelists for that. Then the next one will be like. Then microphone panelist mean that take about but you power one.
Together power.
Yeah, hands in a way.
We have Siri.
This one.
Maybe one moderator.
Hey, we have 3. At a moderator, then
One then
yeah.
share.
Yeah.
Ensuring that every young Ugandan that can write code
is an export. That's really what it does. So we provide companies around the world with engineering talent, and these people working remotely from wherever they are across the country and providing software engineering services and all kinds of digital services to clients all around the world. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Talking about working everywhere, anytime, anywhere. One of my biggest challenges has been sending out my team to work anywhere, anytime. And in the middle of this conversation like this, I said, oh, I'm sorry, Patrick, power is off. So at a later stage, pass it over to Angela. We'll hear how you manage those guys, whether it is actually power or they have a neighbor who has visited or any of those conversations. Angela, tell us more about the helpware.
Thank you, Patrick. Like I've been introduced, my name is Angela Kakumirisi. I run Helpware Tech Uganda Limited.
Helpware is a global business process management organization. We are in the US, Mexico, Philippines, Ukraine, and Europe in a few locations. Out of Kampala, where we started operations in 2023, we are doing a lot of customer support, back office, and other AI and tech-enabled functions.
Just keep on that with your mic. Whenever we see you online, you talk about a lot on operational excellence and developing African talent. Can you just, like my friend would say, can you double click that?
Operation excellence. So I think one of the things that I'm proudest the most about our journey as Helper in Uganda is we prove that the talent is there. That has been said time and time again. But what we lack in Africa is systems, structure, and discipline. You cannot get to operational excellence without those things. So discipline is simple things. I will apologize in advance for what I'm going to call out. Time management. That's a very key thing. When we say we start at 8, we start at 8 at Helpware. In fact, my team knows, and we've had to do a lot of culture training to get them to align with the global standards. And they are doing really well and have passed with flying colors. So operational excellence will only come with structure, discipline, and systems.
Wonderful. Thank you. Pass it over to Emma before he speaks. I had a good conversation with Bob in the morning. And one of the challenges was time. So he has a certain appointment somewhere, but I said, okay, how do we manage time? And I'm so glad that we almost started on time. But I was trying to imagine, and I don't know how many of you have gone through the traffic jam
over Christmas period in Uganda, especially some people who head towards the Masaka area and those areas. Guys spend nights in that jam, and I'm like, what is it? Somebody just told me, because that day can't be postponed. So all of us have to make sure we do it on time. So I was looking at the 10X. We started with 50 to 500. That's where we want to see ourselves for 10 years from now. And I love, if there was no mathematics, I would be one of the illiterate guys around and go for numbers. So whenever I see numbers, I play around with numbers. Without bothering your calculator, 500 minus 50 is 450. So when you get 450, I want to make you divide by 15 and make it by 14 and make 450 by 15 years. So if assuming the numbers were linear, and you get 450 and divide it by 15, where are we? 30. So every year, theoretically 30 per year, 30 billion per year. If you get the 30 and divide it by 12 months, we are around 2.5. That means every month we have 2.5. Economists, please don't worry, I'm just doing linear. I said my assumption is clear, assuming life was linear. 2.5, if you get that and dig further and divide it by 20, assuming you have 20 working days, you're basically saying that every day we are at 100 million. So you can actually go beyond 100 million per day and divide it by 8. And give me about, how many? About what? Just get a daily rate, right? An hourly rate. So when we sit here and maybe the program is late by 2 hours, you know what we are losing on the economy. Right? So I ask myself, if we want to get to 450, additional 450, are we in that emergency mode? Are we in that emergency mode as a country that, guys, today we are behind by this X? Right? So I thought maybe if we put that into our head and say, guys, if this program delays today, if we don't agree on some policies today, we are late. Then I said, okay, are you trying to say in Uganda, which city is 450 kilometers from Kampala? Kanungu. You can imagine the Kanungu man here. If you set off today now to Kanungu, maybe 6 hours, and Mengo and the rest, I remember those stories, 6 hours. And if we put those 6 hours into mileage to cover per day, have we done things that will make us see the 500 or the 10x if we are to do a self-reflection? By the evening of today, are we in that mode? For 14 years, we are going to make it. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is, as IT people, as people in numbers, people who are planning for this country, I pray that we go into that mode. And if we do that, it will happen. I got annoyed with myself. I think the International Trade Center, a few of us went to Geneva to present a few stories. I was shocked. Somebody gave me a program. Patrick, you're sleeping here, but there will be a bus. You can call it the other name, then we call it a bus, localize it. Says this bus will be at your door at 4:15. But don't worry, there is another one at 4:23. Then there will be another one at 4:29. Now, you can actually sleep. The one at 5 will take you about 2 kilometers off the airport area. So please wake up at 5 minutes past 4 and take the one that will put you at that stop. Now, but when I make appointments with you, we normally say we'll meet at 4, 5, 6. Over to you.
Around there. Then you even have to call one out for the meeting. Are we still on?
I've cancelled.
Good afternoon, members. My name is Emmanuel Chagara. I'm the CEO of Milima Security. We are a cybersecurity company. recently turned
10 years, and now working across the region, providing cybersecurity services in the form of monitoring and infrastructure, that is FSSP. We also provide penetration testing services, forensics investigations. And now we are exporting these services to countries within the East African region, that is South Sudan, Tanzania, Rwanda, and now extending to Zambia. Yes, also like I mentioned, we are currently working on relationships in Japan, in the UK, in France, and soon we should also be exporting in those regions.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And also it's important to mention that I also lead the team at Bilima Cyber Academy, which is a talent development extension of Bilima Security. For it, it's a non-profit organization providing talent development in cybersecurity and forensics. And over the last 7 years of its existence, we've trained over 2,000 experts, and they are across the world. There was one who works at Asset Funds. We have a security team provided from Bilima Cyber Academy that is supporting the Arsenal club as well, plus many other companies across the world.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Some people expected a comment on Arsenal. For me, I want.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Mumza. I currently lead the team at Rock Telecom, and we also have a sister company called Rock Cloud. We do everything you said and more. We do cybersecurity, we do cloud, we do other IT services.
Rock has been a brand in the country. Most of you know it as connectivity. We activate here actually. Yeah. So it's a fully owned Ugandan company, and we've been in the international market. For a fact, a third of our revenue is from our international partners, not local businesses. So, as I mentioned in the introduction, Rock has attempted to open markets in the overseas, I mean in other African markets, or tried Congo, or tried Zambia. As that has changed, we will approach the international market a little bit different. There are lessons learned, which I'll share later on. Thank you.
The team was waiting for you to share what went wrong. Maybe since you have the mic, just do it in 30.
Okay, we can start there. Around
2013, the gentleman in Rock decided to open operations. Rock is an ISP at the time. Now we evolving into other businesses, but at the time it was entirely internet and connected. So we opened Rock, Zambia, and Congo, Goma, Bukavu area, in Zambia, Lusaka, and the mining areas. Of course, there was no the free zones authority at the time. It was just the will of the people to go. And they did well. They started, they set up a network in Lusaka and the mining area. We got customers, and things were going quite well. However, there's what they call the liability of foreigners. Doing business in a foreign market, you have to do more than the local entrepreneur. So at the time in 2013, 2014, Zambia was going through political change. The currency collapsed. And of course, connectivity means importation of internet. And you have to pay for it in US dollar. The Zambia regulations didn't accept bidding in foreign currency. So that had a very, very big impact. The other challenge, of course, there was actually a market. There were a few players in the area, in Zambia, so the market was actually ripe. But the local skills and enterprise became challenging with time. We Rock didn't, I would say, chose in Zambia chose the method of going it all alone. We're doing it well in Uganda, let's do it in Zambia. But they were trying to, in short, they were trying to export the company. But they were good, they had the capability of internet, they should have exported the capability of providing connectivity. And they did well. Those new technologies at the time, Zambia didn't have this, we're doing it in Uganda, they did it in Zambia. But the other ecosystem around it, the management, you're doing remote management from Uganda. You don't have local partners who open the doors for you. The currency becomes a problem. So even the simple things as managing employees becomes a challenge. The culture is different. Well, you may say we are all Africans, but there are always differences. About time. In some countries, coming on time can be an offense. So it became a little bit challenging in Zambia. So we operated there for about 5 years. We just lost interest. The company is still there. We left it with the local employees. But it will eventually, I guess, close or rebrand. But the interest wasn't there. Then in Congo was a big difference. Near Goma is just across the border. The internet is very expensive, or was very expensive, but still very expensive in Congo because in Goma, because of the nature of this town. We were in the international spaces, so we could easily negotiate good deals through Rwanda, through our partners. So at first it was quite interesting business, but at the time, most of you know the history of Goma, the political wars came in. So at the time we had to close and staff were arrested. Coming back was a problem. So the other thing, Congo is a tricky area in terms of infrastructure and regulation. Everyone was doing whatever they want. We're doing wireless technologies, spectrum was not a problem for anyone. So you could wake up Patrick and start an ISP. So you find on one building, there are several players and regulated, a foreigner who wins, you don't know. So yeah, so Goma was a bit different. We got a local partner, was very helpful, being I think closer to Rwanda and so on. We did well with the partner, but the infrastructure, getting to Goma was a challenge. So, sorry, that also
continue from there.
So, thank you.
Now you're going to bring that mic very fast.
At the beginning, Chris, tell us about that investing hub and what you do and how you're positioning us for export.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. As I think you all know, my name is Grace. I have had the privilege of being the advice for this gentleman here. In the 80s, and one of the things that we set out in the 80s was to try a company that it is actually the only first ICT company that is being privatized given a license as a special economic zone with the focus of export of IT services in Uganda. The intention was to try and put an infrastructure. One of the things that I think from all the other conversation you hear, we thought that what we would bring is to come and give you the infrastructure you need with everything in a plug and play, and so that you don't have to spend money to
put up your own infrastructure. And so that is what we, Yako Hub is providing. We are right now at the stage of what we have 2 licenses, what we call developer licenses, which is what we've been doing, developing the infrastructure. The infrastructure is now ready to go. The next license is called an operating license, which are the things that we are now trying to find ways of making it work. Because when we started trying to promote the hub, we found there were quite a number of regulatory issues that still are unclear. And I have been engaging with the Free Zone Authority team to see how we can be able to streamline so that we can be able to start bringing in. So this is now ready. open for business. It has a capacity of about 500 square meters. It's a 4-floor building. It's supposed to be everything that you need. You'll have just come in. You don't need to bring anything. But you could also try to, if you want, you will be able to do your own demarcation. But if you're not interested in that, we provide everything that is necessary for there. So what we've done for now, one of the things that we've been out in the market, by the way, we try to look for people to come into the hub. We've gone to India, we've gone to the UK, we've been to Kenya, we've been talking to a number of these partners. And one of the things that I think has become a part of the challenge that I think as a country was that the issues to do with talent is one. The international companies ask, do we have advanced experts, certified experts? So one of the things that we've started to do now is we've partnered with the Amazon Web Service, called Amazon AWS Restart, to start in the process to train young people with certified cloud-based certification as we prepare to bring in more. So right now, as I'm speaking, some of the young people are already in class going through. So we thought, let's start and build that capacity, and then as we bring in the companies, they will find the expert ready in place.
Thank you, Chris. You can give it Mr. Ibrahim. I had you introduce yourself and the many countries you've been to. How did you make it?
How do you be in all those places?
Thank you so much, Chairman. Again, my name is Ayukato. I'm the managing partner, Smiling Faces International. When I'm in this room, I'm into the BPO.
Technical services.
When I'm in the other rooms, they know me as a hospitality person.
But both industries, I really serve at the international level, where I can. I started off with hospitality, where a company poached me for my general manager position in the US, to bring me to join the network services. And my first station was in Nigeria, where we're working on e-visa operation services for the State Department. That's for the US government. Because these services are supposed to be implemented in so many other different countries, that's why you find myself floating from one country to the other. My job is really to identify, fill the seats, do capacity building, give all the trainings, from corruption all the way. I'm also a fully registered member of the State Department. The company is Smiling Faces International, as a Uganda'S, so I want to join the US government. I've gone through all the trainings and certifications to be there. Wonderful. You can pass it over to Bob.
Bob, you've talked about working with projects like UJ Connect. You've skilled a lot of people, and share your story and the whole success story, which countries you're in.
Absolutely.
In an AI mode.
Sure. So I
would say, first of all, it's important for us to reframe what export means in this context. And I think a lot of our, I think earlier on you mentioned, we talk about export, the first thing that comes to mind thinking about goods, right, physical products. But I think in the context of services, especially, for a country like Uganda, given our demographic sort of setup, we need to think about our talent as one of our most important exports. Okay? And when I talk about talent, I'm not talking about one of the things that disturbs me quite a bit at a personal level. So every time you go to Entebbe and you see our young girls being fed in the Middle East, right? So when we talk about services and talent, that tends to be also the kind of export we have in mind, like literally exporting our people, right? But I think when we're talking about the IT and IT-enabled services, we need to think about talent export as, really exporting skills. Think about how do we empower young Uganda, no matter where they are in this country, to be able to participate in this export economy without leaving their village. Okay? That is the context of export. And I think when we look at export in that sense, I think that the 48 million that we've talked about, I think 48 billion, that number becomes, I think, very small. Because I believe there are a lot of numbers that we're not capturing. So today, our work really revolves on the two things that we do very well. One is finding young Ugandan talent and engineers and upskilling them to a level where they can be able to compete globally and actually learn in the work. So it's the learning side and then the earning part. But the earning part is really where the export happens. So far, we've trained over 10,000 in our journey and actually unlocked earning opportunities for over 2,000 young Ugandans. Now, right now, we are focusing on really moving towards sort of the mid-level and senior level engineering talent. We have mostly been praying at the entry level, I would say. But, low cost is really not a competitive advantage anymore. It's not. And by the way, we are not even the cheapest, I would say. If you think about, we'll get the tax conversation earlier, right? But if you think about the numbers, if you just think about NSSF, for example, contributions, which is 10%, that is higher than Kenya, that is higher than Rwanda, right? So from an employer's perspective, I think about 10% of this income has to go. The 10% employer contribution has to go somewhere else. It drives my gross, cost in terms of just cost per talent. So we are not competing at that level, let alone. And the higher the earnings of an engineer or a talent goes, the more expensive it becomes for a company to hire that person. Which means that we're only competitive at the low income level. I think so we're competitive with breadcrumbs, and we need to be aiming for the higher threshold. The real revenue, I think, is in the senior, mid-level to senior engineering talent. And that's where we want to get as a nation. Which means that every sort of incentive that we're working on has to move in that direction. You also talk about something like, payee is on the other side as well. It's part of payroll tax as well. Again, we're not as competitive either. Think about what we need to do is maybe just tier it up. We have a tiered system, so right now it's 30%. If you include the 10%, which is basically anything below 10 million, between 485 to 10 million shillings, 30%, going to pay it. And then it's above 10 million, there's a 10% tax, which goes to 40%. Again, from someone who is hired, think about actually ensuring that it's a quality of work, which is a very important thing as well as we are talking about this export conversation. What is the quality of the talent and the work that is being done? And I think part of that has to be, and they actually having the sort of employment and wages and all of that. But if the tax incentives doesn't make it possible for me to actually think about how do I hire someone when the cost is just going to tax alone. Of course, from an employer perspective, that drives up my costs, right? I'm going to go to a market where that cost is a bit more manageable, so I can manage the bottom line at the end of the day, right? So our work really has been focusing on ensuring that we can get Ugandan talent to be as competitive globally as possible, but that means thinking from the employer perspective as well. One of our most, I would say, our proudest success stories so far has been through the engagement with UJ Connect. And I think the success of that, I like what Brenda mentioned earlier of how government can work hand in hand with private sector and go to the market. I think thanks to JICA and of course to the UJ Connect project in the University, last year, several of us, about 5 IT companies, were able to go to Japan, alongside officials of the University and of course JICA as well. Emma was a part of that trip. For us, that was one of the most successful trips. We had never thought about Asia, let alone Japan, as a market. But when we went to that trip, and typically what happened is that we were moving from meetings to meetings and pitching to businesses and making a case for ourselves and saying, we have the talent, you need the talent. After about 10 or so days, about 2 weeks in total, we came back to Uganda with our first contract, which was also in many ways subsidized for the Japanese companies through the JICA engagement, right? And so we were able to do a pilot to see how is it possible for, Ugandan company to work with the Japanese companies and provide talent services. That led to our second contract with another Japanese company, right? But the key here, I think Elizabeth mentioned this earlier as well, the trust element. Business operates as a result of trust. First, to be able to win clients in these international markets, Whereas with this digital age, there's some value in a face-to-face interaction, building that initial trust that allows business to be able to thrive, in the virtual space. Now that is really, I think, what has made it possible. And the lessons we have learned from that success in Japan has really taught us a lot about the tactical understanding that you need to navigate that kind of market. What doesn't work, what works when you're speaking to a client on the other side, and what is it that really appeals to them, that will eventually translate into an actual contract, right, that ensures you hire talent. And maybe lastly, on that, one of the, very, very, I would say, interesting things that we are learning is that, for us to be able to really unlock this kind of numbers, we need to be setting some very specific targets. As a company, our goal is 10,000 senior level software engineers via talent. And if you do the math then, right, by 2030, in the next 4 or 5 years, that's our ambition. It's a single company, with a very small team, operating out of Lira, by the way, okay? But if we can support, companies of this sort, I think these numbers, we'll find that the number that we have is going to be, maybe we're not dreaming big enough, right? But think about 10,000 engineers, and even if it's just at the entry level of $10 per hour, okay? That in a year compounds to roughly, maybe 180 million to $300 million. 10,000 engineers alone. At the entry level, $10 per hour, right? And if one company can do that, can just get a number of companies and support them to get to that level of scale, I think the tenfold will begin to make sense. But that's the urgency we need to operate with.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Pastor. It's okay to clap by that.
Sorry, I hadn't included that on the agenda. When you feel okay, it's perfectly fine. Angela, your story, the way you guys are managing me now, I'm going to make it a good combo. Your story, where you are exporting what you're doing, and the challenges you're having, and because my time has been chopped, and any recommendation to our leaders here to make it easy for you to times 10 or 10x.
So our story basically starts
in 2023. We've been in the market for about 3 years now. I say that it's very important to win trust. After you get a client's trust, they are happy with you. However, they have to stay. You need to encourage them to stay because typically you're employing Ugandans who need a job for the rest of the year, and these contracts are dependent on performance. So trust alone does go far, but you need to match it up with performance. Ugandans have proven that we can perform to global standards. However, we need to build an ecosystem. Right now, yes, we are marketing ourselves as cost effective. I do not want to use the word cheap, and I never use it when I pitch. We are not cheap. We are very cost effective, and we are able to deliver work at the quality and standards that are globally recognized. So once we build an ecosystem, we need to look at partnering with schools. And I see Michael there. He's one of those people that we need to partner with. We need to look into how do we get the talent that we have ready to work with these professionals all over the world. And look at BPO, BPM as a career, not just as an entry-level job. We have so many opportunities and career paths: workforce management, quality analysis, AI management. All these are available. But as a country, we need to look into investing in our education system so that people can actually do the jobs that we're saying we're going to do. It is very easy to go out there and say, give me the work. They give you the 90 days, because typically businesses will give you 90 days to prove yourself with SLS tied to it. After those 90 days, if you've not done what is expected, they leave. But we don't want them to leave. So we need to invest in education and skilling our people for the right thing. Another thing that global companies are really interested in is our ability to scale. When I go back to the conversation of education, we do not want clients to come in here and say, give me 5,000 people. Then we, as the businesses, go like, oh, now we need to train these 5,000 people. We need to look at what future jobs are likely to come into our market and begin training for those future jobs. So that when the businesses come, we are ready and not having excuses of, oh wait, yes, we have good people who speak English well, they are very articulate, the accent is palatable, but then they don't have the necessary skills to do the work. That's all.
Wonderful. Pass it over to Emma. In your work, you're skilling people with that wonderful academy. I'm glad that you put it on the other side without profit. And God bless you for that. What are the challenges and how do you see what is your 10x? What is your 10x? By the way, it's unfortunate I didn't get the X. If I've got the X, then we'll determine what is 10x. But they can tell us. If you're free with the numbers, you can share. We can come back to the numbers.
So, like I mentioned, we are providing cybersecurity services at Milima Security and skilling as well through the academy. But let me first speak about security because that is the one that's been very actively exporting. We started, I think our very first client was in South Sudan, that was about 2 years ago. Since then, we now have clientele in South Sudan, in Rwanda, we started in Zambia this year. We have been in Tanzania since, that was also 2 years ago. But for all of the operations that we are doing, we are operating in those countries as foreign companies. So we have actually not incorporated in any of them. We are only considering incorporating in Zambia within the next quarter. But thinking about, first of all, our drive to get into these markets, I think as many people agree, Uganda is a very fast digitalization country, and we have several countries that we see opportunities in, okay, and they can take advantage of our growth. Some of these countries you go to and you'll be amazed at how far behind they are. Sorry to use those words as it is. But those are opportunities. Those are opportunities for us. And if we build the right policies and infrastructure, we can really build good bilateral trade with those markets. From the positives, I think there have been several positives because many of these institutions will continue to support them up to today remotely. Milima runs a security operations center where we provide remote monitoring and incident response services for the clientele that we support. And the advantage with this kind of business is that you can do all of it from Kampala without needing to step in a foot. For example, the story of South Sudan, we were working with them for 2 years. I only visited South Sudan for the first time at the end of last year. And yet we had a big client market there. So it means you can actually support many of these countries without needing to be in those countries. That's the advantage. In our bid to expand and access other markets, one of the most interesting challenges we usually face, and this is, I'm very happy that we have our government representatives here, Uganda does not look so good on the global stage. Sorry, I have to bring it out like that. After all, we are in this forum so that we fix ourselves, right? Uganda doesn't look so good on the global stage. There are several things that make us laughable, right? And these are things that affect. If I am sitting in a certain boardroom and I'm trying to pitch Uganda, they're like, oh, but they're going to turn off your internet. So you're trying to provide a security operations center service, and you're guaranteeing me 24/7 visibility on my infrastructure. But how sure am I that you will actually have visibility on that infrastructure?
So as government representatives, we should advocate and see to it that we build a more mature ecosystem where some of the things are unacceptable. When we talk about policies, in cybersecurity, and of course many of you have talked about trust, but in cybersecurity, trust cannot be overemphasized. It's a business of trust, pure. I don't do business with you because you're the best hacker. I do business with you because I trust that if I give you my infrastructure, you're not going to turn around the next minute and start siphoning cash out of it. Or I need to know that you're technically capable to support me when the rubber hits the road. There was a day I was going to bed, preparing to go to bed and all that. At about 11:30 p.m. I see, because we have a monitoring tool that we receive alerts from. So my phone starts pinging, ping, ping, ping. I'm like, what's going on? So I check, it's a signal. So I check on the signal and I see there is a client in Rwanda that is on fire.
So immediately we start receiving calls from them. Those calls started coming in. They're like, there's a problem. So immediately I alert my security team. The good thing, they had also already detected it. We were on that system defending an ongoing, very mass-scale attack between 11:30 all the way up to about 4 a.m. We contained everything and everyone went home happy. Now, such scenario is, I want to know that you're capable, that when business starts at
8 a.m., I don't have any question, or you're not giving me explanations. So there's a very big question of capability. So, back to what I was bringing, which is on the question of trust. Trust is built based on recognition that you're capable. There are certain global frameworks that exist, one of which is things like ISO. Milima is a certified ISO 27001 company. People want to know that you have such certifications. People want to know that at a global level you have the capabilities and you have the frameworks to get the job done. But at a national level, we also have various, how do you call them, frameworks, or there's another word that I'm trying to use. There are conventions, okay? There are conventions that are established to build bilateral trade. Among many is the ease of cyber diplomacy. If you are running a security operations center in Uganda and you want to export your security services to UK, to Japan, to South Africa, I want to know that your country at a bilateral level is conscious of these existing conventions. One case in point is a popularly known convention called the Budapest Convention. This is a convention that, this is a mechanism that was established in 2001. It brings together all the countries. Of course, firstly it was a European initiative, but then it went global, and many African countries have since ratified. Uganda is not ratified. And this is something that it's important for us to note. If we're talking about bilateral trade and cyber diplomacy, and Uganda is not ratified to any of these conventions, it creates a concern about the willingness of the state to respond to a major incident where there is need for bilateral relationship. When we got hit, this is not public information, I can talk about it. When the Bank of Uganda got hit with that massive loss, part of that money was repatriated to a Japanese bank. Part of that money got lost because of the delay in conversation. But because Japan has a good working relationship with Uganda, they were able to recover most of that money. The advantage of tight conventions, such as the UN Treaty on Cybercrime, such as the Budapest Convention, the African Union has the Malabo Treaty as well, it eases that bilateral trade. And it makes it easy for Uganda to call in on Japan and say, hey, we need you to lock down an account which is holding money from Uganda.
So what am I driving to? No, we're out of time. What am I driving to? Whereas companies in Uganda should pursue globally recognized certifications that demonstrate their maturity, at a national level we should also present a picture that we are a state that is willing to cooperate. We are willing to build strong bilateral trade in terms of cyber diplomacy. We are willing to cooperate and ensure that we build a mature ecosystem when the rubber hits the road. So these are some of the gaps that we see within our abilities whenever we want to talk about business cross-border. Some of these questions come up, and sometimes you use a lot of English to explain yourself.
Just before you take the mic away from yourself, what is it that, if you're just given one opportunity, that you ask from my generous leaders of government, that when they implement that, then you'll grow by X. Just one. And they are here, they are pens that can see the benefit.
The one thing, I'm not going to talk about these treaties, because
that's number two. That's done. Treaties, the one minister has already noted it.
Minister has noted that one. Thank you. Thank you.
I picked them in the very good.
Yeah, I think that's a data privacy crime. In case they take you out, I will not be in it. The one thing that I want to encourage us, even in this environment, is let us present Uganda as a mature digital country that is capable of exporting IT resources. Simple as that statement may sound. From an example that Madam Elizabeth mentioned, if you go to our embassies across the world, we are, and it's good, we are not undermining tourism, coffee and all that, but can we build multiple sources of revenue? Okay? If we're doing well with tourism, we're doing well with our coffee and farming, export of fresh foods, can we also positively and boldly talk about our capabilities to export IT and IT-enabled services? At a policy level, we can push for that.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Also, I have a whole script which we are drawing together, but my time was nice and cut by that. And let's like a schedule to you. What is your ask?
I'll speak to infrastructure because that's the business.
If we are serious as a country to export IT services, we must facilitate our infrastructure. And the gentleman there, he said he's running an AI data center. We have a river that can generate a lot of power endlessly. Well, I don't know, and I'm not an engineer of power, but I know it's capable of doing much more than we're doing. Right now, we're in the AI age. Yeah? The other day, Kenya chased away Microsoft because they didn't have enough power to power a Microsoft AI data center. We have a river that can generate a lot of power. Of course, I don't know if it's a priority of our government to actually use it to power AI. So,
but clearly, this big money I might end up forgetting you because the moment this $2.2 billion of coffee and 48 million US dollars from the IT and ITs, maybe he'll be tempted to go that side. But the truth is, your boss, Madam Elizabeth said, there is potential, but there's turning potential into performance. And that's basically now where reality checks in. So today I believe, as you are reviewing the trade policy, yeah, which I think was really long overdue. From 2007 to 2008, now it is being reviewed this time round. But then also the national export strategy, government strategy. And in this, I can guarantee you some aspects were actually captured in the space of ICT and related interventions. Now the question is, whatever was captured in, was it rich enough to meet your interests as key actors? That is a discussion which can actually go under that category. So, if maybe some of your aspects were not ably brought out in the trade policy, by bringing you on board in this side, because now the process is now actually starting, it's commencing the review process. And the good news is that it's under my docket, so I'm in charge. So at the end of the day, it's a matter of saying now, how do we integrate that aspect? Because we're going to align this policy across the 10X strategy domain, the ATMs. So when you reach ICT, what do we need to capture as maybe develop an incentive pack that you think this would be very helpful to help you? The moderator is, I really want us to, you know, the beauty with ICT, only that now with AI, it becomes, because the issues of energy, it now makes this space again become more capital intensive. But in the past, honestly, developing a software, this Makere or university graduates, even A-level graduates, on their smartphones, they can actually be able to develop a code and whatever. But now today with AI, I come from a chemistry background. So today, I can actually use some of these platforms and tell this platform, I want you to do something like this. I'll get an idea of what I want. I can reach out to my brother Patrick and say, now you refine this, but I want it like this. So again, why you felt also as a sector, you are relevant. AI can actually deem you obsolete. Now that is not a government problem. It's for you to align yourselves and say now, if everyone is going this side, do I remain rigid or I become flexible to accommodate the new norm? But what government does essentially is to look at now, let us talk, because whenever we design these policies, they're supposed to be futuristic. We have to see 10 years from today, what is the landscape going to be like? And then also, we're going to be looking at the fact that right now, I can guarantee you, IT and ITS space. Of course, and I do apologize because we never came out so strongly to actually tell you that you are in a space which is a great issue. This is a great issue. This is a great issue. You look at the DPO policy. I presented a brief here where what I was reading through, and I looked at it and I tried to map out how we performed in the Global Innovation Index in 2025. You know the IT report that was presented last year, and looking at the DPO policy. We as students, what can we do? I'll share that document with the leadership of ZEPA, and we're going to come together to really begin thinking these things. Collective thinking and co-designing is going to help us take this sector to another level. Then, of course, the other bit, as I conclude, Madam Moderator, is to also look at evidence is everything. The PSST today, Dr. Ramadan told me, if there's one ministry that he has given an open check, it is the Ministry of Trade. I said, bring issues. How are they going to help the economy? How are they aligned to the 10X? We shall finance. Now this is the opportunity. My brother is going to push for this BPO parks, to actually, and special economic zone, BPO parks, to come into existence. All that definitely. The minister will have to present that to the floor what? Of Parliament to defend that budget. So the thing is, let's now come together. Let's just see how do we push this to the next level. What do you really want? He mentioned a very good thing, that we're going to try to, how we tax these guys on Amazon. But you come and tell us, how can we design something where we also benefit? Yeah, because to him, he made a disclaimer, we are not a custom guy. I mean, to domestic. So, but now when you come and you tell him, you bring him home, he's going to appreciate, oh, so this is the approach you want us to go for. And we think this collectively. Because if I don't know what your interests as a policy maker, I will not defend your rights. So I think that's basically, I think we can leave it on and let them come on board when we are reviewing these policies. We are going to invite you, and even as the Ministry of Trade together with ZEPA, we want to have another session with, who are these guys, the BPOs? I work with Peter, you've been, Joshua, welcome. These are things that we really need to discuss and make a case for. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I think the emphasis there is that as government, the private sector has been given an open check to be part of this policy development and also policy reform, so that the policy environment going forward, as we aim for 50-50-50 in the tenfold growth strategy, you're part of it. And by being part of it, we'll ensure that we develop together and also realize the growth targets. We have a representative here from NITAU. And we know that when we talk about
digitization, it's not a private sector matter alone. But also as government, we are continuously digitizing our processes and also assisting so that they speak to each other to support the private sector. So we know that there's so much going on in the e-government and digital services space, and this is spearheaded by NITAU. So we want to hear how government's digital transition agenda and e-government platforms can create a stronger domestic market and also skills ecosystem and a testing ground for our Ugandan tech companies that want to scale into the regional but also international markets.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I am Luis, here in the capacity of a manager in services at NITAU. As NITA, first and foremost, I'd like to maybe just shed or give some bit of context on NITAU's mandate. So NITAU's mandate is largely public-facing, in the sense that most of what NITAU does is for the benefit of government and these other government agencies, but aligned with information technology. Basically, to also reduce the cost of government service delivery. That is, I could say, a gist or the central part of NITAU mandate. However, in a bid to support the information technology domestic market space, that is, areas to do with business process outsourcing and ITES services, NITAU has, as an entity, been able to engage in some initiatives, one of which included, we had a business process outsourcing facility on 4th floor, Statistics House, which was fully equipped with IT hardware. And as far as I'm concerned, from the ITES team, about 15 BPOs were successfully, let's say, incubated within that space and are out there rendering services. As we speak now, that facility is not operational because of resource constraints, but it was there, it was up and running on Statistics House. We also have, as I speak, of course this is in the pipeline, but it has reached advanced stages. We are currently engaging with finance to get their go-ahead. And the idea is to set up a BPO/ITES facility on 17 acres of land in Enteberunya. So it is a PPP, but it is in advanced stages. The idea is that that place will have subsidized, internet-enabled, not services, but the internet will be subsidized, power, water. We will find a way of managing those costs to make it cheaper for the companies that will use that space and rent that space in the final IT services that they are able to generate, that will be generating income for those companies. So there are some initiatives that have been undertaken by the institution, even regarding skilling. We do support an incubation hub in Nakawa at the, I'm forgetting the name of the institution. Yeah, UICT. Thank you, Joshua. So those facilities have incubated companies that are offering internet-enabled services at a reduced cost. So that shows that NITAU has put a foot into skilling the nationals, and we're going as far as trying to set up, it will not be a free zone, but the idea is to have a place that can house and generate a number of ITES services. Thank you. I don't know if I have able to answer.
Thank you. I think there is business for us there to talk as ZEPA, but also I think clearly the opportunities
questions also for the private sector from the information you've provided, so we shall approach you. Since this panel discussion is between you and our lunch, I'll just ask one more question as a takeaway for us as your audience. Okay, just one question, then I'll go back to the panel. Just one question from the audience.
Part of that fitness in a way is because we are not documented. I can guarantee you that just from observation, there are more Ugandans who are making money within Uganda that probably government does not know about or hasn't picked in this thing. Now, what are we doing to sort of bring those people with it, because they contribute something to statistics. Otherwise, the conversation is left again in the private sector, then becomes now a stalemate. We find people are building things in Malta, we are moving to Mauritius, we are moving elsewhere, and yet at the end of the day, we are still Uganda.
Thank you very much. One, as government, precisely Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, we thrive best in working with business associations as opposed to individual entities. And that's why, again, looking at the fact that most of the biggest or majority of the private sector actors in this country are actually operating informally. That's what I think all of us agree, because those MSMEs who drive almost 90% of Uganda's private sector, close to 70% of them are informal. Now, how do associations bring all those people
into perspective? Our role is, as you on board, as you become the address or the home for people in your space, it means don't just encourage only those who are formally registered, just create a room to onboard the informal ones. Let them have a footing. Let them have a home such that when you're addressing issues to do with policy, they are also inclusive, they can make their decisions. Now, as I said, IT and the ITS space, the perspective of trade, it has been a little bit more silent because, of course, everyone is trying to tell this Ministry of ICT. Yeah? But now, from what I'm picking from here, and at one time I recall we had a conversation with the Ministry of ICT when I think they were looking at what is the current tax regime in terms of maybe access to smartphones. There was that discussion where they were saying, I mean, that why don't you kind of put some, remove some taxes on this ICT hardware such that maybe the uptake can actually be increased. Now, we made an input, but I really don't know where that discussion went. I don't want to mention the person I was working with was have to protect my colleagues, we have to protect each other.
They are going to tax the lower smartphones. They are pushing it to tax the lower ones, and then the higher ones, like the iPhones, apparently we have to go skip pay.
Yes. You don't skip pay because by the time you buy an iPhone, you have money. But then, of course, so let us encourage these people to come up. The other bit on innovation and product development. What's the strategic role? Now, I introduced myself earlier on that before joining trade, I was overseeing the rocket for innovation and IP management in the Ministry of Science, the former one. The truth be told, even in this innovation space where we build products, there's always where As I know better myself, I will never go into product development when I'm not guaranteed of a potential market. That's the one. Now, the moment you innovate with the market not in mind and to make sure that you've got someone who's going to take up whatever you're producing, it becomes a nightmare. But there's a bit of what you call public sector scaling. Most of these government systems have actually been developed by local companies. If I'm lying, maybe you slap me for me. So these are local guys. So meaning, local content is also being what? Encouraged. But how do they do it? You're going to develop an intervention that addresses government priorities. Every year, Uganda'S budget that is passed, as we start the one for next financial year, close to 50% of that budget goes to procurement. Now the question is, to what magnitude is your association ICTAU part and parcel of that big cake? It goes back to the point of how now we onboard you. And that's why when trade comes into this discussion, we are going to come back to the drawing board to say, what can you do? First, to be able to provide each one of you to know what can you offer? What are your strengths? Then you can build a profile and say that, by the way, this guy, at least, let us target at least 5% of each financial year's budget towards this space. So I think it's a matter of knowledge that Jonathan also is lacking on our end, but I know a lot is happening. But again, you realize there's a lot of informality in the formal space. Maybe we can take this guy to another level. Yeah. But we shall invite you. Dr. Elizabeth, you come with your people, we have coffee, and trade and then talk more. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. As we quickly conclude, we've all agreed that Uganda has the opportunity of becoming the leading IT and ITS hub in the next 5 years. So, our dear panelists, I want to hear from you. What is that most important policy or regulatory reform that can be implemented within the next 12 months? So that when we reconvene, maybe a year from now,
we say that yes, we said we'd do this and it has actually been done. Thank you. I'll start with Nita, you, Louise.
To respond to you, I'd like to start by picking on something that I found the earlier presenter, a lady called Brenda from the sister district. She said something to do with Uganda can accelerate BPO by treating attraction, delivery, and skill
as one system. So I think you've had the opinions from other regulators, yeah, and you seem to come to the conclusion that many of us are operating in a parallel manner. What do I mean? Recently, and this lady is Grace, she has come to NITA before to try and get access to that. NITA has a considerably lower internet cost for wholesale, yeah? So they wanted to use that facility because, again, they would fall within the category of people that would benefit from that facility. But the challenge we have is, even when we try to support the private sector, everybody, instead, it would be better, for example, if people in the ITS and BPO space, if you came together, approach the regulator, and the regulator approaches these other entities with statistical data, with information, the regulator can be able to push certain issues that affect your sector and are falling within the mandate of other, should I say, government entities. Yeah? Because again, we don't, NITA has tried to support some private people, but when you're dealing with other stakeholders, for example, the Attorney General, and they try and ask you, okay, you have connected this private person, and they were claiming they wanted to, there's an entity we once connected and it was more interested in assembling and putting together IT equipment under the slogan, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. That is the thing they used to show that
what we're doing is going to improve the economics of the country. We are going to start locally producing IT products. But today, anyway, we don't know anything about how they are performing. We don't. So many times as we approach our other regulators or stakeholders, let me put it that way, to see to it that we can get for you some favorable policy, recommendations. It becomes hard when you all operate as if in silos. My personal recommendation would be if we engage UFZEPA, and UFZEPA comes and engages maybe trade, NITA-U or URA from a knowledge, should I say, base or point of view, it then becomes easier for us to also implement those decisions. Because again, I don't want to say I don't stand with him by saying in government we support each other, but we are also accountable. That's one thing the private sector forgets. When that auditor comes at the end of the year and asks you, okay, you gave connectivity to a private person, whereas not, you might have had good intentions at that point in time, but the auditor is not going to want to know that. He's going to tell you, what does the law say? Why did you go beyond the law? So my parting shot, or the one recommendation I could give to the audience and most of the private sector, let's organize ourselves more. Let's get ourselves into some sort of formal structures, engage our regulator. The regulator will be in position to, with authority, engage other stakeholders and see to it that they can push policies that are more favorable to your sector and industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner?
I think the first thing is as trade, may I want to address that kaukumi which I've already started observing among these people. That one is going to break you. Nothing of saying, I'm in this camp, I'm in the other camp, I'm in this camp. That we have to break it. Otherwise, when you come to us, we're not going to go addressing multiple parties. Come as one, we address one issue. You've told us, go fight for an incentive. It's for all of you. We harmonize. You're speaking the same language. That is number one. Now, it's up to you as key stakeholders to put your house in order. Number two, I'm really interested in finding out and knowing more about to go in depth, to look at the composition of the ICTA Youth Association, to look at the BPO Association, and look at the profile of each of you such that you're able to build a case and establish what exactly, how can you quantify your contribution in numbers, such that as you go to speak and defend, because some of these things that is going to emerge from here, it might result into a cabinet memo, where a minister has to go and build a case why we need this thing, because it touches trade as a key engine. So now, we may have to either come together with UFZEPA to actually maybe either instigate a diagnostic study, or we need to get more information, more data, just to arm ourselves better and we know and understand your sector very well, so that we can be able to serve you better. So that kind of study, I think in 12 months, is something that can actually be what? Achieved.
Thank you very much. One last submission.
Yeah, and thanks to my fellow panelists for your comments. They've been very useful. I'd like to address one specific concern I had about the challenge that we have, where BPOs are claiming to be doubly taxed. From the perspective that while they are exporting services, it's a component of salaries and wages that is misclassified. Yeah, and I would like to give feedback from, from the perspective of URA. We are a service-oriented organization, and really our intention is not to doubly tax taxpayers. And if there are any challenges around this, as long as my colleagues have stated, we have a sector-wide position, and you guys can come up with a position that is being advanced as a sector, and you clearly said that, well, the kind of service that we offer, these are the ingredients of service. Part of this should be taxed and this part should not be taxed. Then we should be able to resolve that challenge. So, and again, I throw it back to you. If you can, we have now a dedicated office in URA, the Victor Services Office, that can be able to follow up on this issue. And we ensure that we alleviate the players from this burden, such that going forward, there is no ambiguity.